Yeah.
All right. So you guys might remember, when we were telling the past stories, the past parts of the story, but I was just telling the story that was once told by Jim Hawkins, but not anymore. Okay? See, this part is not being told by Jim Hawkins. This part is being told by Dr. Livesey himself. So this is basically just a prequel to what happened when Jim was ashore and what happened on the ship when the captain was there. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and begin, okay? Time was 1:30. It was 1:30 when the two boats that were led by Silver went ashore. And the captain, the doctor, and John Trelawney, the squire, were having a meeting in the cabin. And during the meeting came a hunter who was one of the honest men. Came down to the cabin and gave them and shared a news that was not so enlightening. Told them that Jim Hawkins has hopped on one of the boats that was led by Silver and he went ashore with them, other men. At that moment, everyone was confused, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to ask, but see, they trusted Jim. They know that he was a smart boy and he was a clever boy and he can get himself out of a situation, but they knew that he was ashore with Long John Silver, who can outsmart anybody on the ship. So smart. So they were so confused they didn't know what to do. But they made the decision that they should go ashore to explore, and they took one of the other rowing boats, and Hunter and Dr. Livesey went ashore. But you see, there was a difference between the two boats and the boat that the doctor has been leading. You see, the first two boats that were led by Silver went far into the right, but not this boat. The boat that was led by Dr. Livesey had more information. You see, they had the information that on the treasure map there is a stockade. On the treasure island there is a stockade, according to the map. So they went straight into the island. And as they went there, they found out that the two boats that went ashore are now being guarded by two men. But the two men saw the first boat, but they didn't do anything. They didn't say anything, they didn't move, they didn't tell anybody, they didn't inform anybody. So as they got to the shore, Dr. Livesey grabbed onto his pistols and he ran ashore. He ran as fast as he could. He ran no less and no more than 100 yards, which is basically equal to 93 somehow meters. Ran to the shore and he reached the stockade. He reached an open area that had a wooden hut in the middle. A wooden hut that had holes in the wall so that muskets can be fired from inside. And also, there was a little hill with a fresh water spring coming out of it. In that place, Dr. Livesey admired. He found out that this is the best place for him and his crew to stay. So it was decided that they should turn this place to their own stockade. But at that moment, a cry of a dying man came from the other part of the island. A person crying of death. And at that moment, Dr. Livesey had made his decision and he ran to the boat, rowed back to the ship, where he found out that John Trelawney, Smollett, and all the other men aboard were confused. They found out, and Livesey, Dr. Livesey, shared his plan with Captain Smollett. And he told him that we should actually go to that wooden hut and make that our place. Take all the supplies that we have on board the ship and make it a stockade of ours. And it is decided. They start putting supplies onto the boat. And in the first run, Joyous, Hunter, and Dr. Livesey go to the shore. And on their way back, they leave Joyous behind. You see, the supplies were very simple. I mean, everything that you can have on a ship is basically, what is it called? You have food, of course, you have gunpowder, barrels of meat, biscuits, and a lot of other things. But the most important thing that they took ashore with them was, of course, the medicine chest that belonged to Dr. Livesey. So they took all of those ashore, and when they got ashore, they dropped the supplies and left Joyce behind. And they went back to bring a second run of supplies. They brought another run of supplies and they went back ashore. This time, not just Joyce, they also left Hunter behind. Yep. They also left Hunter behind. This time, when Dr. Livesey, he went back alone. All right, so this time was different. He went back alone, didn't have anybody with him. But on the third run, it was a lot more dangerous. The sea was getting rougher, the tides were getting stronger, and hearts were beating faster. You see, as he got ashore, as he got back to the Hispaniola, they got a third run of supplies. Not just that, they also had John Trelawney, Captain Smollett, Dr. Livesey, Tom Redruth, and of course Abraham Gray, which was one of the untrusted men on the boat, but he decided to join the honest men. So he joined on the boat, and this made the third run a lot more dangerous because, you see, it wasn't just that. More men joined on the boat, and there were supplies, the sea was rough, and everything was getting more dangerous. So the third run was over, and they got ashore. They dropped all the supplies. They forgot about one thing. Captain Smollett, at that moment, when they were in the ocean, Captain Smollett said, "Look behind you, a gun." And at that moment, everybody looks around and they see that on the ship, they had forgotten about a very important thing, which was the cannon. You see, at that time, in the 1700s and those times and everything, the most powerful weapon, not just in the ocean, in the entire world, was a cannon. And cannons are not the same as now. Back then, it was just a big ball of, iron dropping on things. It didn't explode. And that was the most powerful weapon. And who was manning that weapon? Azrael hands. According to Abraham Gray, who had fear in his voice, told Livesey that Azrael hands was Flint's gunner. That's it. That's all you need to know, that your life is over. Because when someone gets the name, the title, Flint's gunner, that means he is lethal. You see, Flint didn't get that reputation out of having cannon members and cannon manners that didn't know anything about cannons. Azrael hands must have been powerful enough to actually sink a ship with one shot. So they all are afraid. And at that moment, the men ashore who had seen them taking the supplies to the shore went back into the woods and informed the other pilots, who were led by Silver, to come out and attack them or do something. Started showing up and attacking towards the Stockade and trying to block their path. At that moment, Trelawney makes the decision that he should pick up a weapon and try to shoot Azrael hands. Because, as you may know, Trelawney was a squire, and he sometimes goes to hunting trips and everything. So he was the best among them with a weapon. So he stands up and tries to shoot Azrael hands on the boat so he can stop him from shooting the boat to the sea. Trelawney asks them to stop rowing the boat so the boat can be stable and he can take a shot. So they stop rowing the boat. Trelawney stands up, and as he pulls the trigger to shoot Azrael hands bends down, and the shot that was fired flies past him and hits another man on the ship. I mean, the shot didn't go a waste, but it didn't do its job, because that shot was actually meant for Azrael hands. And on the ship you can hear a cry of a dying man or something, you don't know what it is. And on the island, you can also hear men crying out aloud, running towards them. And at that moment, when they look at the men on the island, a shot falls right next to them, right next to the boat, and it makes the boat flip over, and all the supplies fall into the water along with everyone on board it. They fall into the water, and they grab as many supplies as they can. As you can see, they were close to the shore, so they just walked to the shore. They didn't have to swim anywhere. They just grabbed to what they could, and they ran towards the stockade. You see, I know this is a bit of an annoying end to a story, but here we're just going to cut it, okay? You see, you guys should know one thing. Stories have a lot to tell. A lot. And this is a very important part. We're going to come up with the previous parts, the upcoming parts, of course. You guys really need to start learning how to read stories, learn about them, because they have a lot to tell, you know, a lot of advices, a lot of things about life that you should know. And, you know, just make it a thing in your life. It's a very important thing. So until next time, I wish you guys all the best.